Hi there, I'm Graham Nichols from Affinity, and I'm here today with Pam Birtle from Cornerstone Adoption and Fostering Service. Pam, just tell us about how Cornerstone started and what the sort of cause of it was and a little bit of the history.
Okay, so I've been a social worker for about 15 years and I realised that what I was doing was chronicling the lives of lots of children, and Trevor and I, as practising Christians, were kind of wanting to seek God about what he wanted for our future, and so we looked at the idea of us becoming foster carers. So we originally fostered with Bernardo's and then with the Children's Family Trust, but we really felt that the journey that we'd been on, we encountered quite a lot of opposition to our faith. And so in the 90s we kind of thought about whether or not we should start our own fostering service, and specifically make that for practicing Christians, where our faith would be understood and celebrated and valued rather than something that was problematic.
So what is distinctive about Cornerstone? You mentioned about it being for practicing Christians. In what sense is it for Christians?
When we set up as a charity in 2005, we made it very distinctly Christian. So we have a genuine occupational requirement on all posts, and we also only recruit practicing Christian couples. So we have a statement of faith and a code of practice. So we say what it is to be Christian, what we mean by that, what that looks like on the tin really. And so we only take people who actually are able to sign that statement of faith and code of practice.
So in terms of the fostering, what's distinctively Christian about that? Is it in terms of who the children you take for fostering, and is it in terms of the homes that they go to?
Yeah, we take any children. We'll take any children from any faith background or no faith background. So the Christianity aspect is not about the children. It is about our families. So all of our families are practicing and committed Christians. They're all in fellowship, in churches. We take up a spiritual reference, so that establishes our genuine occupational requirement to make sure that the families who come to us, Christianity is not just what they do on a Sunday in terms of going to church, but it's how they live their lives. But the children are encouraged to go to church, but obviously we cannot force any child or adult to become a Christian. It's more about how they watch their fostering family live out their faith.
So in terms of parents who want their children to be fostered and perhaps in the long term adopted, are they often happy for their children to go to Christian families as much as to those of non-faith?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, quite often referrals will come which will say not practicing, Christian but not practicing. But sometimes we get referrals where it actually says on it that this is a practicing Christian family and they want their children to go to a practicing Christian family. Right. And sometimes the children themselves have come to faith. So we've had referrals for teenagers where they have found faith whilst in the care system with their short-term foster carers and actually want to be fostered by Christians.
Right. And you would like to also become an adoption agency as well?
Yeah, I mean, as it happens, 80% of all of Cornerstone children have been adopted by their forever families. So we've had children where the plan was adoption and we followed that through. But we've also had children where the plan wasn't adoption at all, who've then gone on to be adopted. So we have now applied to Ofsted to become an adoption agency. We've been doing post-adoption support since 2006, but we would like to actually be a fully fledged voluntary adoption agency in our own right.
You use this expression forever families. Where did that come from, and how are you kind of using that?
I think just as a social worker, what I understood children needing was they needed somewhere to put down roots. They needed somewhere to unpack their suitcases. They needed somewhere where they could be committed to, and also to commit to feel safe, to have that kind of structure of family around them. So the Cornerstone families predominantly are forever families. They commit not just to 18, but they commit, as you would with your birth children, to be their parents, to love them, to take care of them, to commit to them throughout their adult life. So to become grandparents to their children, which we've seen a lot of now.
Yeah, so you have people who have fostered who have a long-term relationship with the children they fostered, even though perhaps they didn't adopt them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have people who have adopted them, who are therefore legally their parents and then grandparents to their children. But we equally have families where there's no legal order in place, but it's a covenant of the heart, really. They took these children on for life, and see themselves as the grandparents to their children, and they're invited to everything that any other family member would be invited to.
Right. So what are your plans? What's your vision for the future? Because you're based up in the northeast
We are.
and have a footprint there, but would you like the service to be expanded elsewhere across the country?
Yeah, I think when we first started Cornerstone, there were quite a few people who gave us prophetic words to say that ultimately this was something that was on God's heart, fostering and adoption, and that this should go to the nation. And in January 19, we'll have been around 20 years, and it's now definitely our plan, having established a core base in the north, to move south, but also to establish regional clusters in Wales, in Northern Ireland and in Scotland.
So would you like potential partners to make contact with you and start kind of discussions? Is that your kind of idea?
Yeah, I think we're at that point now. We're definitely at the tipping point. So as CEO, my role clearly defined from the trustees now is to get out there, is to find Christian social workers and Christian families who want to get involved in this. So basically replicating the footprint that we have in the north in the other regions of the UK. So yeah, definitely if there are social workers and pastors and families out there who see this as something that is part of their call, then we would want to hear from them.
Well, thank you very much, and there will be details of how you can contact Cornerstone at the end of this video.